Man, I just woke up from the most crucial nap. One of those midday monsters. The kind that has the little bit of drool coming right here. You wake up, you got the white crust. Yeah, man. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Whew, I wanted to push this podcast back to like 4 o'clock. It was rough, but I got up. I'm ready. Let's talk some football, man. Man, this was a really good week of ball. Let's do it, man. Who else could it be? With me, your man, Louie Tee. Whoa. To the 113th installment of the Louie Tee Network Podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie Tee. Thank you for joining me. Man, we got a lot to get to today. The NFL was bonkers. On Sunday, we still got one more game to talk about heading into Monday night. It's a big one, too. And when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, we just watched a 3-5 team on Sunday Night Football go up against a team that was in the dead heat of the playoff race and knock them off. Could it happen again on Monday night? We'll see. This Vikings team, red hot right now, on the legs of arguably the best running back in all of the game, Dalvin Cook. He's the best running back this season to this point. We'll talk about that game a little bit later on when we get to garbage time and take a sneak peek at that game. I'll give you my prediction for that game as well. Haven't done that yet. Speaking of predictions, I went 10-3 over Thursday and Sunday slate of games. I'm sitting pretty. I'm disappointed because I told you 12-2 was what I was looking for. And I would have gotten there. I think I would have been right there on the precipice of it had the Ravens done what we expected them to do. I built in 2 losses, and I took those 2 L's. And I didn't mind taking those 2 L's. This is the first week that I did it my way. And more, much more than this, I did it my way. I did it my way this week, so I feel damn good about these picks. I got one more pick, and we'll see how that one goes. But I could have easily been under double-digit wins because we all know about that Hail Mary that happened yesterday. But it was like a balancing act. You know, I take one away, I give you another one. The football gods always fix things. Always. You never get away. You think you do, but they're going to come back and get theirs eventually, whether it's now or down the road. And so we'll talk about all those games. What a wacky day of football it was. And then we'll get to a few other things in between. But before we do that, I want to talk about a few items here on the podcast. And I'm going to start with a Gem Droppin Session that's a little kind of out of the way. So let's do that real quick. Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind, let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie Tee Double E. Let me open you up. Thinking a little bit. So I was reading a tweet earlier from my man, J.I. Halsell. He's a guy that's been in league circles for quite a while. Used to work in the front office of the Washington football team as sort of a capologist, if you will. You know, one of those guys that makes the numbers dance. He was a former agent, then turned capologist for Washington, then back to an agent once again. And so he's always dropping little tidbits, little nuggets. And so I follow him and I read some of his stuff from time to time. And he dropped a tweet on me today that got me to thinking, and I hadn't really thought about this, but it makes tons of sense because when you see one guy do something, generally he's opening the floodgates for others to do it. Now, this isn't one of those one guy doing it situations. This is a bunch of people doing it because of a specific reason. And now I think you're going to see people use this as a little bit of a loophole, if you will, to start preparing for the draft. So we've talked about this on the show, but not in this context before. So J.I. Halsell had a tweet where he essentially said, you know, the scouting community is usually slow to come around to change, which the NFL in itself, you know, not just the scouting community, But the NFL is, the entire league itself is old man, get off my lawn. You know, it's a bunch of guys who've been doing it for a bunch of years and they don't like change. Like there was a lot of fuss about the combine. Oh my God, what are they doing? You know, how can they keep us out this late? You know, we should be inconveniencing the players, not us. You know, we have to get up early in the morning and do all of these things, and we don't want to be out till, 11, 12 o'clock at night and then have to get up again early the next morning. This is crazy. And so you had all this fuss because, remember, the combine went to prime time this past year. And so all the events were happening later in the day instead of early in the morning. And everybody was all up in arms. Little stupid, little simple stuff like that they complain about because you're breaking up their customs, things that they're accustomed to and used to. And so if it's not broken, they don't want to fix it. And remember a few years ago, Christian McCaffrey said, you know what? I'm not hurt. Nothing's really wrong with me. But my team's like 9-3. We're going to a bowl game, and that's cool, but we're not winning the national championship. We're not in the playoffs. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and start preparing for this combine. Hey, peace. Appreciate y'all. Hey, Stanford, you've been great. But I'm going to go ahead and start preparing for the combine. You understand, right? They was like, yeah, Chris, go do your thing, man. You put us on the map, man. Don't worry about it. We're good. And so he went. He prepared for the combine, and everybody said, oh, man, they're going to kill him. Ugh, not there for his team. Christian McCaffrey went in the top 7, I believe, of the draft to the Panthers. And all the other players saw that and said, well, didn't really get docked. We thought he was going to get murdered. Thought his draft stock was going to fall. He wasn't there for his team. And they realized, the hell am I doing? My team's not in the playoffs, not in the college football playoffs. And everybody saw the Jalen Smith injury. Everybody knows what that looks like. No one wants to be that guy, because all they're going to do is say, oh, man, that's a tough break. That really sucks, man. But you were playing for your team, man. You were out there going to war with your soldiers, your brothers out there. That's not going to feed my family when you decide I'm not a first round pick anymore because of my knee injury, is it? Which is what happened to Jalen Smith. Instead of being a top 5 pick, which he was going to be, he ended up being a second round pick that the Dallas Cowboys pulled the trigger on. And it paid dividends for him, and he got his money still, but that's not going to be everybody's situation. Not everyone is going to have the Jalen Smith Hollywood ending, where you come back from this major catastrophic knee injury, tear it up in the league, and get that second contract that validates everything that you've gone through. For some guys, that knee injury is ultimately going to be the beginning of the end for you. And you never see that second contract in the NFL and what it could have been. So now we fast forward to COVID-19 and a bunch of guys are sitting out this year. A bunch of guys have opted out of the season. That's the new term now. That was never a term, opting out. There was no such thing as opting out. You were either going to play or you weren't going to play. If you don't play in a college football season or you miss a bunch of games for no reason other than injury, we got problems. It's one thing to miss a bowl game. It's another thing to just say, you know what? And remember, there was so much controversy. I don't know if you guys remember this, but Leonard Fournette had such a crazy sophomore season at LSU. Same thing with Jadeveon Clowney after that hit in the bowl game versus, I think it was Michigan. And everyone was like, man, is he going to play that next year? And I remember Fournette took out this massive insurance policy. There was this big discussion about whether he sit out that junior season at LSU or was he going to play. And I don't know if he ever really entertained the thought of not playing his junior season, but there was a lot of conversation about him potentially not playing. Same thing with Jadeveon Clowney. And those guys played, but they weren't as good as they were in their sophomore seasons. And I think in the back of their mind, it started to get to them a bit. Like, man, I might get hurt. Got to watch myself here. And when you start watching yourself, that's how you actually get hurt. A lot of guys will tell you that. But moreover, they weren't as dominant in that junior year as they were in their sophomore years. I think there's a little bit to that. They were playing, but they were playing with in the back of their mind saying, I just need to be careful. I need to make sure I don't hurt myself. And it brings it full circle now with all of these opt-outs. I mean, a lot of the top guys that we'll see drafted in the 2021 NFL draft didn't play in 2020 in college football. You know, obviously the quarterbacks, all of them played. Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, even Trey Lance played a game, which was it was a farce. That one game that he played, like a showcase game, that was trash. But, you know, there are going to be some guys that don't play. Kyle Trask is going to end up, and this is why I said a guy like Jamie Newman's going to be hurt by this process. He didn't play this year. Everybody else played. But then you're going to have the guys that, no matter whether they play or didn't play, you know, they're going to be a top 5, top 10, you know, top 15 pick regardless. You know, the Caleb Farleys of the world, the Penei Sewells of the world, those guys are getting drafted, all right? The defensive end from Miami, those guys are getting drafted regardless of not playing. And so that begs the question now, if I'm already recognized as one of the best players in college football, let's say I have a really good, solid freshman season and I lighted up my sophomore year and everybody knows how good I am. And my team, let's say we start off the season 1-3. You know, look at Penn State, for instance, this year. You know, they all-world linebacker out. Decided not to play this year. They're hurting on defense. They can't stop a nosebleed. And the big thing that they're lacking is speed. Well, this guy would have given them all the speed that they could have asked for and more. He's going to be a top 10 pick. More likely than not, maybe even a top 5 pick at the linebacker position. Opted out of the season. They're struggling. Let's extrapolate that over into the 2021 college football season. And let's say you're a big-time prospect. You played your freshman year. You were really good. You played your sophomore year, and you were excellent. I mean, one of the best players in the country, and everybody knows. Going into the season, you're a top 5 draft pick. You're projected to be a top 5 pick. Your team stumbles out of the gates. You start 1-3. You had an outstanding first 4 games of the season, but your defense is awful. Let's say you're a wide receiver. Let's say you're Jamar Chase. You know, Jamar Chase, he had an okay freshman year. No one was really talking about Jamar Chase. Sophomore year was bonkers. All right? Lit it up. Everybody knows this guy's a stud. We watched him against Clemson, embarrassed the corners and really embarrassed all the corners in the SEC and even through the playoffs. Guy's legit. And let's say this year, and this is a perfect example. LSU starts the season off. They lose their very first game after winning the national championship, going 15-0, the whole deal. Everything was great. They lose their first game this year. Lost to Mississippi State. Mike Leach's first game in the SEC, they lose it. Well, really your hopes of winning a national championship are dashed. But if you want to, you can still play. Let's say you continue to play the next 3 weeks. You tear it up. They know what you are. But you go 1-2 in that stretch, and now you're 1-3 overall. What's stopping Jamar Chase from saying, you know what? We're not going to the playoffs. We're not very good. I'm going to go ahead and opt out of the rest of the season. What are you going to do? What happens when that player doesn't even play in the first 3 or 4 games of the season to see how good the team is? He puts himself before the rest of his team, and that's fine. Look, you can't tell a guy what he should or shouldn't do. You can't tell a guy how he should prepare for his future. What if that guy decides, I lit it up in my freshman year, I lit it up in my sophomore year, I'm going to opt out of my junior year, start preparing for the NFL draft. I don't need to play any games. You got enough tape on me. You got freshman and you got sophomore tape. There's over 24, 25 games for you to look at there. Go look at that. I'll be at every one of these major after season major all-star games is what they call them. You know, if I need to be at the, not all-star games, because like Senior Bowl is the biggest one. You're not going to be at the Senior Bowl if you're a junior. But I'll be at all the extracurricular activities, the draft process things that I need to be at. I'll be at the combine. You know, I'll showcase there. I'll be at the pro day. You'll see me again there. And if let's say the team is pissed off at me and they don't want me at the pro day, that's fine. I'll hold my own personal pro day. Teams, they're going to show up. This COVID-19 season, I think, is going to change the way college football is played. in the way these players approach these college football seasons now. I really think that. I really think you're going to see players now looking at college football as a business. They didn't do that before. Yeah, there is a certain element of promotion that you get with college football, or college sports in general. That's been one of the arguments, for paying players, is that you're getting a free ride to go to school. And we know school is not cheap. So you're getting a free education. And if you're a really good player, you're getting free promotion. You're getting free advertisement, because we don't know who you are coming out of high school. Only the diehards do. If you're a booster of Georgia or Alabama and you follow these high school rankings, then yeah, you know these players. But for the most part, for the lay fan like myself, I'm not a massive college football fan. I don't follow it that hard. I watch the games, but I don't know these kids until they get to school and they start tearing it up. I don't know Adam from Eve. Yeah, he was one of the most prolific high school players in the state of Ohio. Cool. What is he going to do for Notre Dame? I've never heard of him before. So he's got to show me. I don't get wrapped up into, these players declaring that they're going to go here and National Signing Day. They put on the hat and yeah, that's cool, man. Come tear it up in college football. Let me see what you got. Well, we're going to find out if these players are going to start treating college football like a business. And when they feel like they've extracted enough out of that business, they prepare for the NFL and they stop playing in these games. I think we're going to see more of it. I really do. Christian McCaffrey, he was the one that was the trailblazer. He was the one that stuck his foot in the door, pried it open by sitting out. Nobody took that next step, though. No one was bold enough to say, to hell with these final 8 games. I'm good. No one was bold enough to say, I'm not playing in these final 6 games. We stink. You know what I'm about. I'm going to be a top 10 pick. I'm out. Now COVID comes along and guys opted out for obvious reasons. But what about for the future? If these guys come in, and this will be the real tell-all for the future. If these guys end up getting drafted, which they will, in the top 10, Parsons is getting drafted in the top 10, possibly top 5. All right. Sewell, Penei Sewell is going to get drafted in the top 10, more likely than not. When we look at these guys and how they perform at the next level, if they come in and they play well, other players are going to look at the blueprint set by these players in a non-COVID season and say, I can do what that guy did. I don't want to be Jalen Waddle playing in football games when I don't have to break my ankle. Let's see where Jalen Waddle gets selected, because now it's a test. Here's a guy that had first round pick written all over him. He breaks his ankle. Now what do you do? And if he's ready by the time the draft comes around and he's worked out and stuff, then it's a dead issue. But if he's not, and I don't know the timetable for his injury and how long it's going to take him to heal, but if he's not, and he's not able to run, which is his strength, he's a speed guy, and he doesn't get taken in the first round, where he had first round written all over him if he stays healthy. Meanwhile, all these guys that didn't play this year are going to go in the top 10. What does that say to a college player moving forward about playing in meaningless games for his team, or playing in games, period, for his team after he's put out enough of a body of work that's going to net him a top 10, top 15 pick in the draft? I'm not saying. I'm just saying. At the end of the day, it's something to think about. I think we're going to start to see more players opt out of seasons, opt out of games. Not just a game, not just a bowl game at the end of the season. I think you're going to start to see some guys potentially say, you know what? I got a family to think about. I got to protect myself. I'm my investment. I'm going to sit out this year and prepare for the NFL draft. Just a little food for thought. You guys do the dishes. So let's move on let's get back to reality. Let's get back to the National Football League. Let's talk about Week 10. Let's go slate skating. Put your skates on. Tie them up tight. Some of y'all had some loose ankles last week. I can't help you if you turn your ankle because you didn't tie your skates tight enough. That's why I have the shoestringless strap rollerblades. Okay? I'm secure. I'm going to pull that all the way through. You know how it sounds? And then I'm going to pull that strap down. Bah! And it's tight to my ankle. I got the little strap that goes through, makes that sound almost like you got a zip tie. My ankles are nice and secure in these rollerblades. I'm ready to go slate skating. Let's do it. So, let's start with Houston at Cleveland. This was an ugly football game. Very, very ugly. The last two games that Cleveland has played at home, one before the bye week against Las Vegas, one after the bye week versus Cleveland. It's almost like those same weather conditions were being played. Like the only difference was in the Vegas game, there was actually a little bit of precipitation. And it was like sleet and hail mixed together. I don't know what the hell those were, but it looked like somebody was throwing rocks out of the sky in that Raiders game. But they actually came out on the right side of this one. And I believe if they would have had Chubb in that Raiders game, maybe they win that one too. But Chubb was back this week, made all the world difference. Look, this was an ugly, ugly game. It was 3-0 for the longest time. I mean, the longest time. I don't think a touchdown was scored until we got to like the 7-minute mark of the fourth quarter. And the Browns scored a touchdown and made it 10-0. It was just rough. You could barely throw the football down the field because the wind was just howling. You saw it in the Sunday night game. It was all of that minus the rain in Cleveland on Sunday. And so the run game had to be a huge part of your offense. And that's not what the Texans do. And they were already down their best running back in terms of running the football in David Johnson, who was out with the concussion that he sustained the week prior. So it was just going to be tough. It was just going to be tough sledding for the Texans. They had opportunities. You know, they got down there once, went for it on fourth down because the wind was so ridiculous. They didn't want to kick a field goal. And Deshaun Watson got stopped, and the defense held up. Myles Garrett continues to be outstanding this year, made a play on a fourth down to stop Watson from getting in the end zone on a quarterback draw. And Cleveland holds on. The big story here was, you know, at the end of the game, Chubb with a ridiculous run. I don't even know how he was able to turn the corner here. The Texans had him dead to right, but he has a hezzy, and he gets to the outside, turns the corner on Justin Reed, gets up the sideline, and it looks like he's going to rumble for about a 64-yard touchdown, and they're going to win this game something like 17-7. But he watched football, you know, when he was out, and he saw what happened in the Detroit Lions game versus the Atlanta Falcons. This wasn't the same situation. This wasn't hey, if you score, you're going to only be up 6, and the Texans will have a chance to beat you. This was hey, you scored this touchdown, you're up 10. They're not scoring. Look, they haven't scored all day. All right, it's 17-7 pending the extra point. Whether your kicker makes the extra point or not, you're up 2 scores. They're not scoring twice. They barely scored once in this game. But he did the smart thing because the chance of the Texans winning the game is like 0.0001.1%. Like there's this really razor thin small margin that they have. Like it's almost impossible, but it's not. If he scores the touchdown, anything could happen. One big play, one big run, you know, a kickoff return, whatever. Anything could happen. And then the onside kick, obviously they need a lot, but they could still win the game. If he takes a knee or he falls down or he goes out of bounds before he scores, he got the first down, they take 3 knees, the game's over. It's 100% chance. They have a 0% chance. And he knew that. So he trots out of bounds he could have just stayed in bounds, but he just ran out of bounds at the 1-yard line. Smart play. It's a heady play by a heady football player. And they take knees and they win the game. A lot of people were upset at Chubb, boy. They was the Browns went off as 4-point favorites in that game, -4. And if he scores that touchdown, obviously everyone that had the Browns -4 covers. Well, he went out of bounds. That was the biggest story for the game. Nobody cared about this game. They cared about Chubb running out of bounds. That's all anybody wanted to talk about after the game. The Browns win this game. It wasn't pretty, but it was gritty, and most importantly, it's a dub. You know, the Texans aren't a good football team this year. You want to win and make the playoffs, you have to beat teams like the Texans this year. They're good enough to beat you, but they're bad enough to beat themselves. You just have to let them beat themselves and do the rest. And that's essentially what the Browns did in this game. They didn't do anything special. The offense looked awful for the Browns in this game. But they ran it enough, and they took advantage of some Texans mistakes. And what it all boiled down to was they needed to run it at the end of the football game, and the Browns can run the football. And with Nick Chubb back in the lineup, they go back to having one of the better rushing attacks in football. They missed him dearly. He's back. And that's going to change the dynamics of that football team. So they get the win 10-7. They're now 7-3 on the season, are the Cleveland Browns, and or 6-3, excuse me. They're now 6-3 on the season, and they're right in the mix in the AFC wild card chase. They won't win the division. The Steelers have pretty much locked it up with the loss of the Ravens last night. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But at 6-3, they're right in the mix with the Raiders, the Titans, the Colts, the Ravens, all of those teams. 6-3 right there. A lot of 6-3 teams in the AFC. So it's going to be fun. Dolphins are in there as well. So it should be a lot of fun. Big win for them. Texans dropped to 2-7 on the season. It's going to be a rough year for them. It's already been a rough year, and it's going to continue. And the worst part about it is you don't reap the benefits of this. You don't have a first-round pick to say, well, at least we got a top 10 pick. It's not yours. It doesn't belong to you. That's what stings about this season if you're a Texans fan. Washington at Detroit. Speaking of hurt, I think I got a super chat pertaining to this game. And I do. So I'm going to read that real quick. JC the God. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. JC the God writes, man, that was a heartbreaker. HTTR for life. That it was. And you know what? 30-27 is the final score in this game. Lions win on a walk-off 59-yard Matt Prater field goal. And how we got there was just a wacky situation. So quickly to recap this football game. The Lions jump out on top of Washington, 17-3 at the half. Washington did everything in their power to hand them this game, gift wrapped them. They dominated the first half, did Washington. Time of possession wise, they were in Detroit's territory basically the entire first half. They continued to move the football and continued to make mistakes. The first possession, kind of a microcosm of the first half. Washington marches right down the field in about 6 plays. You know, bing, bang, boom. And now they're at the Detroit 23-yard line, 2nd and 3. They run a reverse, and they lose 9 yards on the reverse. Goes from a 2nd and 3 to a 3rd and 12 from the Lions, 32. Then Alex Smith takes an 11-yard sack on 3rd and 16 or whatever it was, 3rd and 12. I think it was 3rd and 12. He takes a 11-yard sack, pushes them all the way back to the 43 and out of field goal range. It was crazy. I think it still would have been like a 55-yard field goal when it was all said and done. I think it pushed Washington back to like the 36 or 37-yard line. Still indoors, if you've got a kicker, 55 in this league is nothing anymore. I watched the Seahawks kicker, Myers, bang one from 61 in L.A. So if you got a kicker, 55 is nothing. But here's the thing. Our kicker was dealing with a groin injury all week long. Didn't know if he was going to play. Didn't want to stress that groin, so they didn't send him out there. Instead, they punted the football. Anyway, that was a microcosm of the first half. Move it down the field and then implode. Washington had another opportunity down there. Alex Smith misses a wide open J.D. McKissick for a touchdown, settle for a field goal. They would miss a field goal after getting down there again. And then Terry McLaurin fumbled once they got down there right before the half. So they moved the football at will for the most part in the first half and only had 3 points to show for it. Meanwhile, the Lions barely had the football. Why? Because they hit big plays. 2 big touchdown passes for Matthew Stafford, one for 61, another one for like 30 some odd yards. And you look up and you're down 17-3, which has been the story of the season for Washington. Slow starts, big time halftime deficits. They've been one of the best third quarter teams in the league, have Washington. They did it again, surrendering just a measly 7 points in the second half. As the Lions, in the third quarter, they gave up a touchdown. Lions extended the lead to 24-3. With that, they got the football to start the second half, moved it right down the field, scored. And it was 24-3, and this looked like an ass whooping in progress. And then Washington got on their horse, and Alex Smith miraculously woke the hell up. I don't know what the hell happened. He went from just checking it down to J.D. McKissic on every snap to now getting chunk play after chunk play after chunk play. And before you looked, you knew it was 24-10. Then it was 24-17. Then it was 24-24. And you're like, wow, this defense couldn't get a stop. This offense couldn't get out of their own way. And all of a sudden, the defense is getting stops, and the offense is moving the football at will. And now it's 24-24. And just when you needed one more stop, the defense gives up a field goal to the Lions. They take the lead 27-24. Washington goes on this improbable 2-minute drive to try to win the game, but worst case scenario, get in the field goal range to tie it. It's the longest 2-minute drive you'll ever see. If you thought that Patriots 2-minute drive against the Jets for the win was long, check out that Washington 2-minute drive to get in the field goal range. It was excruciating. There were at least 2 or 3 different fourth down conversions that had to be had. And this is where the football gods intervened. Washington got what I thought was a really bogus pass interference call. They could have let that ride. Look, it was pass interference, but they didn't have to call that. The cornerback, Desmond Trufant, read slant. It's one of Washington's favorite things to do with Terry McLaurin. If they would have ran a slant and go, they would have had him. But they were just looking to get the first down. And they ran a slant, and he knew what was coming, and he jumped it. He ran a slant for Terry McLaurin. McLaurin couldn't cross his face, but instead of him just running to the ball, he ran into Terry and then kind of put his hands on him and was a little bit aggressive with him, and they called him for pass interference. I thought it was soft. Thought they could have kept the flag in their pocket. They gave us a gift, kept the drive alive. We got another flag for holding. I thought, it's all right. It was a hold, but if they didn't call it, I wouldn't have been mad. And so we got a field goal out of it. So the Lions have 19 seconds left on the clock when they get the football back. And I was in the MOBB community during the game, and I said, hey, just so you guys know, last time we played the Lions in 2016, Stafford had about 40-something seconds left, and he went right down the field, scored a touchdown, broke our hearts. We thought we were going to win the game 16-10. He took it down the field. I think the score was 17-13 at that time. We were down 13-10. Kirk Cousins keeps a read option, runs for a 25-yard touchdown. We take the lead 17-13. We think we're going to win. Stafford takes it right down the field. He's one of the most heartless quarterbacks in that 1 minute to 2 minute range at the end of a game. He'll cut your heart out. He'll slit your throat. He's cold-blooded, man. And I said, hey, Stafford's got 19 seconds and 3 timeouts. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. And on the first play, gets a little bit. They call a timeout. Second play, he's got a wide open Quintez Cephas. I mean, I don't know how a guy gets this wide open at this juncture of the game with this on the line. This guy's literally running 7 yards behind the rest of the defense. If Stafford hits him, it's a touchdown, and he could walk the rest of the way. Literally walk. Catch it at the 7 and walk in. Nobody's even close. Like, oh my God, what is going on right now? But he couldn't find the ball, and I think it was overthrown anyway. So we catch a break. So on the next play, they throw a pass. It's incomplete. But Chase Young pushes Matthew Stafford late. Literally takes 3 full steps after the ball is gone, and he shoves him. It's soft. But the football god said, hey, we got a right or wrong, man. Don't mind us. We're just doing what we do. Correcting some mistakes that have been made. And so they flag Chase Young. It's the right call. And that 15-yard penalty put Detroit essentially at midfield, and we know they've got a kicker that owns the NFL record for the longest field goal in NFL history. So we know this guy is fully capable of banging one from 60 if need be. So you can't give up any cheap yards here. All right, all they need is about a good 7 or 8, and they're going to be able to trot Matt Prater out to kick this field goal. So you need to be up nice and tight, nice and snug on this first down pass. There are only 6 seconds left on the clock, so they don't have a bunch of time to get cute. So if you come up and you press and they try to get cute and go over the top and they don't score a touchdown, game's over. We're going overtime. Or regulation's over. We're going overtime. Our guys play the sticks like it's 3rd and 14, and any stop in front of the sticks is a win. Like it's 4th and 14, and any stop in front of the sticks is a win. And so Stafford says, oh shit, y'all gonna give me this much space? And he throws an easy 8-yard completion. The guy falls down with a 9-yard completion. That's all he needed. They tried out Matt Prater for a 59-yard field goal. Looks like it's gonna miss wide left. It knuckles up and it straightens out. And that thing had another 5 yards to spare as the Lions win the football game 30-27. And it's Heartbreak Hotel once again for the Washington football team. Big win for the Lions. They're now 4-5. And hey, in a wide open NFC with a whole bunch of nonsense going on, the Lions are right back in the mix at 4-5 for Washington. It's another one of those losses that you just chalk up to being a young football team, not knowing how to win. And that's exactly what it was. Another one of those young football team type of losses. It stings. It really does. You go to the next game, Tampa Bay at Carolina. This was a fun one to watch because as we've seen all season long, the Carolina Panthers were game early, but they just didn't have enough in the tank late. And the Buccaneers pulled away 46-23. And you look at that score, you're thinking this is an ass whooping through and through. But this was a close game at one point. Like they were going tit for tat. And the Buccaneers were in for a hell of a dogfight. But then you get a couple turnovers by the Panthers. You get the 98-yard run by Ronald Jones. You get the Teddy Bridgewater injury, and then you get a what looks like a massacre. At one point, and so they ran away and hid from these boys. But at one point, this was like a 23-17 game. Like Carolina was right there, and the Bucs. They couldn't get out of their own way. They kept settling for field goals. They weren't converting in the red zone. And Carolina was right there. They were right there. And then the wheels just fell off. And that's the thing about Tampa Bay is that it can happen so quick with them. And we saw it in the Raiders game about a month ago where it was 24-20. 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And then they explode for 21 unanswered and run away and hide and win that thing 45-20. It can happen so quick with this Buccaneers team. And that Ronald Jones 98-yard run was a backbreaker because when you punt the football in that situation, you're telling yourself, okay, we can get a stop here. 3 and out. We're going to get great field position. We're going to get an opportunity to get the ball back and score right away. And to have that happen in the fashion that it happened, to have your heart ripped out of your chest like that was demoralizing. And that was really, for all intents and purposes, that was the ball game. That Jones run, that took all the will and fight out of this Panthers team. After that, they weren't the same team in this football game, And I think they ultimately scored one more time after that run, but they weren't the same team. That one hurt a hell of a lot. And this is what the Buccaneers needed. And I knew they were going to do this. They were going to bounce back. When you're a good football team and you take one on the chin the way that they did, you bounce back. You score a bunch of points the following week and you get your mojo back. We saw the Packers do it earlier this season when they were destroyed by this same Buccaneers team. They go on the road and they destroy the Houston Texans. And so we knew the Panthers were going to be in trouble in this game. And they were going to fight, but they just weren't going to have enough. And that turned out to be the case in this game. They fought like hell, but they just didn't have enough firepower offensively to keep up with this Buccaneers football team. The good news for the Panthers is that there's no structural damage to Teddy Bridgewater's knee. Everything seems to be intact, and he's listed as day-to-day. I'd be surprised if he plays this week. But the fact that he isn't hurt gives them a chance to continue to compete because they're building something in Carolina. I told you that it wasn't going to be long before their head coach turns it around. Matt Rule is a hell of a football coach, and everywhere he's gone, winning has followed. So it's going to take them a year or two, and I told you that. And they've exceeded my expectations, despite them being 3-7 right now. They've exceeded my expectations for the season. I didn't expect them to at any point be over 500, unless it was after week 1 being 1-0, and they lost in week 1, and they lost in week 2, and I said, okay, here we go. And then they ran off 3 straight wins, got over 500, and I'm like, well, look at that. Look at the damn Panthers in year 1 of Matt Rule. Well, since then, they've lost 5 straight. They've been close in every single one of those games. But again, another young team that doesn't know how to win, and that's why they sit here at 3-7. And so, and they've had a brutal schedule too. You go on the road and play the Chiefs. You come home and you got Tampa Bay. Their division is brutal as well. It's tough. It's really tough. You go on the road to play New Orleans. It's not easy. But they've been in every single one of those ball games except for this one. This one got away from them. And you could argue their 2 most lopsided losses this season have been to this Buccaneers team, and they've been in both of those games at one point or another, and the Bucs have pulled away late. Not like this. Now, the last time I think it was 27-17 that game ended up, with 34-20 or something like that. But this one, man, this one got out of control late. Mike Evans did some work in that red zone in this game and could have had another touchdown or two. He had some issues with not being able to hold on to the ball a couple of times, but they figured it out. Brady hit Gronk for a touchdown in this game, wide open. He had another big play that set up a touchdown to Mike Evans. Brady was sharp. He bounced back after a rough outing last week versus the Saints. And so now the Buccaneers are 7-3. And they're still a good football team. I told you, the beauty of last week's ass whooping is it was just one game. So they bounced back, and they bounced back in a major way, 46-23 over the Carolina Panthers on the road at Carolina. Philadelphia Eagles at the New York Giants, NFC East family business. This didn't go the way that I thought it was going to go. Now, I knew the Giants had a chance to win this football game, but I didn't think they would. They ultimately did win this game 27-17. The real story here is, well, 2 stories for me. The Eagles stink. And they had a whole entire bye week, and they come out of the bye and they do this. They looked awful in this game. They're not a good football team. The Eagles are a mess. And I thought getting Miles Sanders back and getting a little healthier and getting some of the guys that have been out back in the lineup was going to help them. Jalen Reagor was out there. I just thought they're going to get some of this ammunition back offensively. They haven't been terrible defensively this season. I said they're going to be fine. No, they're not. And their schedule is only going to get more vigorous as this season progresses. And if you can't beat the Giants, and I have to stop saying that now because the Giants are the best team in the NFC East right now. It's amazing what 2 weeks can do and 2 NFC East opponents can do. But the Giants, all 3 of their wins, I have to add this, are against the NFC East teams. 2 of them coming against Washington, the other against this Eagles team on Sunday. But they've looked exceedingly great these past 2 weeks from an offensive standpoint. The biggest thing is no turnovers. If they don't turn the ball over, they can win football games. Their defense is capable. Daniel Jones is capable. He used his legs. He hurt the Eagles severely with his legs in this game. The first touchdown run, I said, oh my God, he's doing it again. He did it again. Remember, he had that big 75-yard run versus the Eagles earlier this season where on a Thursday night where the 10-yard line jumped up and bit him and tackled him. But this time it wasn't as long a run, like 33 yards, but he smoked their entire defense. I'm like, this man has wheels, for real. Like Vanilla Vic in full effect. Like seriously, this dude is actually smoking these dudes. And he had another touchdown run at the end of this game that was called back. But I said, man, they have no answers for this dude whatsoever. And it was just amazing to watch this Giants team. You see the confidence building with this team. I told you I love their head coach, Joe Judge. They're believing in him. He made some big throws in this game. One to Golden Tate, where he goes up and climbs the ladder and pulls it down. But the story of this game was the Giants defense just smothering the Philadelphia Eagles offense. Wentz looked terrible in this game. Outside of their running backs having a good day, I thought that Miles Sanders ran the football effectively. You had a big touchdown run from Boston Scott. Outside of that, they were horrible offensively. And you got to credit the Giants defense for that. They were all over Wentz. They pressured him. He was never comfortable. He didn't really turn it over in this game, but they were never comfortable. And, Doug Peterson up to his same old Doug Peterson tricks, going for two all the goddamn time. I thought that one of those 2-point conversions was so unnecessary because I think the score when he went for two the first time, it made sense. It was 14-3. Still, I am not a fan of it, but okay, whatever. You go for two, you get it. You cut the deficit to just 3 at 14-11, and that's what he did. They got it. You cut it to a 14-11 game. The second time, though, it was 21-11. You're down 10. Why are you going for 2 after this touchdown? It's a 3-point game if you just kick the extra point. I didn't really understand the point of doing that. Like, why are we going for 2 here? And so they don't get it. It ends up being 17-21, and it's 21-17, and I'm like, why go for 2 there? It doesn't make a difference. Like, you get the whole premise of, if I get it, if you're down 4, it doesn't make a difference. 4 or 5, it's all the same, So I get that. But this was a situation where if you kick the extra point, you're just down a field goal. A field goal ties the game. Now, if you miss this 2-point conversion, now you're down 4. And now you need a touchdown. Like, what's the point in that? What's the psychological sense in that? You need to wash your face and get your damn mind right. I just don't understand the logic here. But okay, whatever. It didn't matter because they didn't score again the rest of the game. So it didn't matter. And I don't know if they even came close to scoring the remainder of the game. That's how suffocating the Giants defensively were. But he just drives me nuts with him going for 2 for no reason. Just stupid. Anyway, this was a dominating performance by the Giants. If you watch this game, you say, man, the Giants are getting better. Now, they've played NFC East teams the last month or so, it feels like. And the same thing for the Eagles. They've played inside the division for the last month, both of those teams. It was Washington, then it was Philadelphia, then it was Washington, then it was Philadelphia again for the Giants. They could have easily won all 4 of those games and been on a 4-game win streak right now. Instead, they won 3 out of those 4 games, and now they're right there knocking on the door of first place at 3-7, which is crazy to say. Meanwhile, the Eagles are 3-5-1, and so they're still in first place via that tie. And neither one of these teams have played out of the division over the last month, so their perception of what is good football and not good football is skewed right now. They're probably both going to have a rude awakening when they play their next game against a real team outside of this funky-ass division, because I think the Eagles were Giants, Dallas, and Giants again after the bye. So it was Giants, Dallas, bye week, Giants. So they haven't seen another team outside of this division in a month. They're going to have a rude awakening next week. I don't care who it is they play. They're going to probably get their asses whooped because they think that this is quality football that they've been playing of late, and it's not. They stink, do the Eagles. And the Giants, they stink too. So, but they might be the best of the worst. They get it done 27-17, and don't look now, but the Giants may be the best team in the NFC East. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Jacksonville at Green Bay. This game was a lot closer than anybody thought it was going to be. 24-20, the Packers get it done, but it wasn't without a little bit of strife. This Jacksonville Jaguars team continues to compete despite being down their starting quarterback, despite the future looking really bleak, knowing that they're going to fire their head coach at the end of the season, knowing that everything's more likely than not going to change, knowing that Gardner Minshew not going to be your quarterback, starting quarterback moving forward after the season. They're still out here fighting. Jake Luton is starting his second game versus the Packers. And yeah, he made some mistakes. He made a couple of mistakes in this game, but he fought like hell. He gave his team a chance. They had a 92-yard punt return in this game. Keelan Cole running it back for a touchdown. And man, punters and kickers are so unathletic. My God, they're an embarrassment. He gave this guy an in and out, and you would have thought he had on a pair of skates. You would have thought he went slate skating with us. He went in and out on this kicker, and this guy looked like a fat 317-pound, 76-year-old, which I don't even know if that even is possible. Normally, the people that live to be that age are in shape. But this guy, and he stumbled backwards and just felt like, seriously, dude, have some pride about yourself. What are you doing right now? It was ridiculous. And so he scores the touchdown. They confused Rodgers a little bit, picked him off one time. This is the biggest fear of any Packers fan out there. Davante Adams had his hamstring tighten up on him. It was a cold day in Green Bay, and his hamstring started to tighten up on him. He came back in the game and arguably made one of the biggest catches in the game where he got up. I mean, he looked like he was ready to dunk a basketball. He jumped so damn high for this touchdown pass thrown by Aaron Rodgers. But they used him in some sparing situations when it was important, like in the red zone, and that's where he came up big with that catch to give them that 24-20 lead in the ball game. They were down 20-17 when he made that catch, and then they held on for dear life after that. Jacksonville, they didn't know how to win. You know what it is. When you get to those late game situations and you're a bad team, you don't know how to find ways to win. And the Packers relied on them blowing the game, and they did. They didn't know how to get it done, and the Packers hold on and survive 24-20. But if you're a Packers fan, your worst fears are confirmed. You don't have anything outside of Davante Adams, and yeah, help may be on the way. But I don't want to keep building the legend of what's the kid that went off against the Saints and then had oblique surgery, had the oblique injury. Oh shit, what is his name? It's gonna kill me. Let me look him up, because if I don't, I'm gonna be thinking about him the whole time, the rest of this podcast, trying to figure out his name, and I won't be able to think straight. Alan Lazard. I don't even have to look it up. There it is. Alan Lazard is his name. Like, this legend of Alan Lazard, like he's just going to come back and be the savior. That's cute. But I got to say, MVS stepped up big time in this game. Marquez Valdes-Scantling. And I remember joking with my man Cody about 2 or 3 weeks ago on one of the overtime programs. And he was like, hey man, I love MVS. That's my guy, but he's got to go. I can't do this with him anymore. I'm sick of him dropping the football. I'm rooting for him, but he's not the guy. MVS stepped the hell up in this game. He was massive. 4 catches, like a $145. Had a big, like 70-yard touchdown where he cuts across the field. He cuts it back like twice, gets into the end zone. Without his play, they're dead in this game, especially with the injury to Davante Adams. But you can't count on that every week. And against a better team, you probably lose this football game. Seriously. Like, they're going to pay for not doing something in the offseason and doubling down on that, not doing something at the trade deadline. The Packers are going to pay for this. They really are. But they got through this game. As I mentioned, MVS was outstanding. They've got issues stopping the run again. That's a problem for them too. I think that's going to rear its ugly head. They've got some issues, do the Packers. But hey, they are finding ways to win. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. But I think when we get to, late December into January, they're going to be one of those teams that I think are going to find it hard to advance in the postseason because they're missing key ingredients. I think that's what we're going to ultimately find out about this Packers team. But survive and advance. That's what it's about. From September to December, they do that in this game, and they advance to 7-3 on the season with the win. Do the Packers as they take down the 7-2, excuse me. Do the Packers with this win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Wasn't pretty, but it was gritty. Most importantly, It was a dub. Jacksonville Jaguars, after winning in week number 1, have now lost 8 straight games. They are 1-8 on the season. So hopefully they'll win a game, or maybe they won't. We'll see. Buffalo at Arizona. This was the game of the day and arguably the game of the season. This was a fun one to watch. And I had a front row seat. I recorded the game. I was able to sit down, comfy confines of my home, and watch this one. And so how my setup works is I've got my computer screen, and I got a pretty big computer screen. It's like a 27-inch computer screen or whatever. It's a big screen. So I put the DirecTV mix on my screen, and I'm able to watch 4 games at once. So I'm watching 4 games on the computer screen and 1 game on the television screen. So I do that for the first half of games, and then I do that again for the second half of games. And it worked out beautifully because normally there aren't 4 second half games to watch. But because of the Masters this week, there was no CBS first half game. There were no 1 o'clock CBS games. They pushed all their games back to 4:25 and 4:05. So I benefited from that. So once I finished the overtime program, I was able to pull up 4 games on the computer screen, and I was recording the Arizona-Buffalo game on the television. So I was able to go back to the beginning of that game and watch that football game unfold, and I was able to see everything. And I had Arizona, and they got off to a slow start in this game, and so I thought I was going to end up losing this game. And, you know, I kind of second-guessed myself because I thought I was going out on a limb when I picked Arizona. I thought that Arizona was going to be the favorite. That everyone was, I thought Buffalo, after they went out and destroyed Seattle last week, I thought that everybody would understand that, if you want to be honest, the Bills are probably the better team here, but it's just a tough spot. They're on the road. They're coming off the high of destroying Seattle last week. Now they got to travel all the way west to take on the Cardinals. I just thought it was a lot for this Bills team to ask of this Bills team. Not because I thought the Cardinals were better than them. I just thought it was a tough ask to have the Bills to go all the way out west and then win the football game. So I thought I was going out on a limb picking Arizona, and that everybody else was going to pick Buffalo. And I looked up and everybody's picking Arizona. I'm like, what the hell? I almost wanted to change my pick to the Bills because I knew they were the better team. But anyway, I stuck with Arizona because that's who I thought was going to win the game. I'm not changing my pick because everybody else thinks Arizona's going to win the game too. That's not how this works. Picking Arizona because I think Arizona's going to win the football game for all the reasons that I just laid out. And they're a good football team. So I start watching the game and I'm like, wow, this is some bullshit. The Bills are going to win this game. They were up 23-9 in that game. They were dominating too. They were dominating. Now, Patrick Peterson could have had 6 interceptions yesterday if he could catch. But they were dominating the game. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell, Arizona? I'm sick of you. You know, this is the 3rd time you've burnt me this year. What are you doing right now? You burnt me against Detroit early in the season. You burnt me last week against Miami. You're going to burn me again this week, aren't you? And it was like, man, calm down. Stop bitching. We got this. I was like, I'm just saying, you keep doing this shit to me, man. I'm sick of it. They shut up, man. We got it. I said, all right. So they started chipping away. And next thing you know, Kyler Murray runs in a touchdown, and it's 23-16. They pick off Josh Allen. Got great field position. Can't get in the end zone, though. Got to settle for a field goal. And that was the problem. If you watch this game, the Arizona Cardinals could not score in the red zone in the first half. That's why they had 9 points, 3 field goals. They were 0 of 3 in the red zone. Had to settle for field goals. If they could score a touchdown, this game wouldn't have been close. Got to credit the Buffalo Bills defense, though. And Cliff Kingsbury said, that's my fault. That's on me. Bad play calling on my part in the first half. I'll fix it. The antidote was, hey, just Kyler, you just run the shit yourself. So first touchdown, Kyler Murray run from about 5 yards out on a read option. They kicked the field goal after the Josh Allen, and finally Patrick Peterson catches one. So now they got great field position. They end up getting a field goal out of that one. Then they score another touchdown, and now they've taken the lead 26-23. I was like, okay, that's more like it, Arizona. Goddamn. Then they pick Josh Allen off again. This time it's Drake Kirkpatrick. I'm like, oh, this shit's over. They're moving the football. They're about to score a touchdown. They got this shit wrapped up. And then Larry Fitzgerald, uncharacteristically, has the ball. He go down to cradle the football. And somehow as he's rolling over, the ball pops up into the air. He caroms it into the air right to one of the Bills' safeties. I don't remember if it was Jordan Poyer or if it was Hyde. Micah Hyde. I think it was Jordan Poyer. I'm like, Larry, how could you? Not you, Larry. Come on, legend. And the Bills, as fate would have it, they take that bitch like 85 yards in like a minute and a half. Right down the goddamn field. I said, they gonna score this goddamn touchdown, aren't they? They all they needed was a field goal to tie the game. And their kicker, Tyler Bass, went ape shit in this game. This man hit one from 58. This man hit one from 55. And this man hit one from 50. I think it was 54. It might have been 58, 56, and 55. He was unconscious. Okay? So at this point of the game, I'm like, oh, all they got to do is get to the 40 and they in his field goal range. It's the equivalent of Steph Curry. He just got to get across half court and he's already in his range. So I was like, well, they're going to tie this game. They was like, to hell with a tie. We trying to win this bitch. And as fate would have it, Patrick Peterson gets beat on a corner route by Stefon Diggs. And this is why I love this season with COVID, with no fans or limited fans, because I think Arizona had let some fans in, like 5,000 or whatever. And you could hear them. Like just the Saints, they let 5,000 in and you could hear it. You could hear the difference. You can hear everything on the field. And, you know, everybody's been so excited, like the real geeks like myself. You like hearing these calls at the line of scrimmage, you know. Like, I know I was watching one Raiders game earlier this season, and one of the calls was John Gruden's wife's name. Like, he's changing the play, and he's like, Amy Gruden! Amy Gruden! And you know, just shit like that where you're like, hey, that's funny, man. You know, they calling out random shit. You know, Judy Jetson! Judy Jetson! You know, just random ass shit. And so you're hearing these calls, but that's not what I'm excited about. I'm excited about the trash talk on the field. That's the shit I get excited. You hear all of it. All of it. The mics the referees are wearing and the mics that the guys on the sideline, they pick all of this shit up. It is so awesome. And when Stefon Diggs catches this touchdown, he gets up and he screams 3 times in a row. That's why the fuck you pay me. That's why the fuck you pay me. That's why the fuck you pay me. I said, go ahead and talk your shit, Stefon. Go ahead and talk that shit. And then and the dude came over. I think it was McKenzie, comes over and pushes him. That's why the fuck they pay you. Yeah. And they hype. And Stefon Diggs is dapping everybody up on the sideline. He slams his helmet down. He thinks they won the game. You know, and you know, when you so excited you don't know what to do with yourself, you just start screaming shit for no reason. So now, I guarantee you, Stefon Diggs at no point this season has been on the sidelines cheering on the defense. Ever. Even the game they won against the New England Patriots. I bet you go on the sideline, he's either standing up, watching the game, or he's sitting on the bench chilling, watching it on the big screen. Guarantee you there's been no game where he's been hype enough to be screaming, let's go defense! But he was so hyped, he just couldn't calm down. So he's on the sideline, let's go defense! Spit coming out of his mouth and shit. You know, and I'm watching this and I'm like, Arizona's got all 3 of the timeouts. And first of all, me the constant optimist, because guess what? I got Arizona. I'm on the wrong side of this thing right now. I need the Cardinals to win this game. And so I'm like, well, they're probably going to lose. But Arizona's got all 3 of their timeouts, and there's 29 seconds, so maybe they could do something. The problem here is they don't need a field goal. They need a touchdown. That's the problem here. If they need a field goal, I'm like, no, they going to get in the field goal range. But they get a catch to start off the drive, call a timeout. They get another catch, call another timeout. And then I think they tried to run it or something crazy, and it didn't really work out the way they wanted it to. But whatever, they're right around midfield. Matter of fact, they throw a little pass to the running back. He gets out of bounds, and there's about 9 seconds left. So really, you got time at midfield. You got time for like 2 Hail Marys. If this first one doesn't work, you can throw another one. But Murray was under duress, so he scrambles out to his left, and I'm like, shit. To your left, bro? Really? He outruns the first defender, and this is what made this play so special, is the first guy had him dead to rights. I want to say it was Jerry Hughes. Had him dead to right. But this is Kyler Murray, man. Man, is he a little fast bastard or what? Damn, he's so quick. He's not Michael Vick fast. Like, people talk about him being a fast. Vick, for me, is still the fastest quarterback I've ever seen. It's between Vick and Lamar Jackson. And I think Vick is still the fastest quarterback I've ever seen. And I don't care what anybody says. You can't change my mind. But quickness-wise, I've never seen anybody quicker than Kyler Murray before. Quick, Vick wasn't this quick. Vick was quick. He wasn't this quick. He eludes Jerry Hughes with a little hezzy. Got him. And that's all he needs. Is it? Got you. Once you stop your feet, you're not going to start your feet faster than he starts his. So Jerry makes a feeble attempt at a dive, and Murray just continues to roll out. He finally squares his feet as another defender is screaming down at him from about 10 yards out. He squares his feet to the line of scrimmage, and he launches it as he's falling away. And I'm watching the football in the air. Like Waterboy. You remember the end scene when Waterboy throws the pass to the quarterback? And the ball's in the air, and it's like, dun, dun, dun. And everybody and the coach is playing with his nipples. And the ball's in the air, and everybody's watching it. And I'm watching that ball in the air like, oh my God. Isn't that a beautiful pass? It's not going to be caught. And I look down there and I see nothing but Bills jerseys. And inside those 3 Bills jerseys, I see one Cardinals guy. I didn't know who it was at the time. I just said, he's outnumbered. He's not catching the football. And in the sea of hands, I just see 2 hands go kind of above the rest of the hands, but they're kind of all close. And I just see the ball not hit the ground, and I'm like, where's the ball at? And then I see the one Bills defender, and this is what really did it. I don't think it was going to make a difference. He was going to come down with this football. But the one Bills defender came over late, and he knocked the other Bills defender out of the way if you watch the play. And so it cleared the way. Once he hit the ground, you could clearly see, oh my God, he's got the football. He's got the football. I'm going to win this game. I'm excited. I'm not even a Cardinals fan. You got to be shitting me. And the thing that was crazy is that Nuke Hopkins was so damn calm when he caught the ball. He gets up like, yep, I just did that. That's what I do. I'm DeAndre Hopkins. I'm Nuke. That's what I do. Boom. That's why they call me Nuke. I could blow up on you at any time. And everybody's all excited and elated, and they're dapping him up and they're hitting him, and he's just walking away calm. No emotion. I'm like, this is unbelievable. And it was crazy because on one hand, you got Stefon Diggs going nuts after he catches what he thinks is the game-winning touchdown. And then on the other hand, you've got DeAndre Hopkins just as calm, cool, and collected when he catches it. Both of these guys were traded on the same day this past offseason. And both guys got new money once they got traded. I don't think Diggs got new money. I think he already had got new money with the Vikings. Anyway, maybe he did get new money. I think they gave him a new contract. Whatever. It was just crazy to watch it unfold the way that it did. And then they panned back to the Bills sideline, and Josh Allen looked like he wanted to cry. You know how, and I talked about how when you're so hyped, you don't know what to do with yourself. You're just screaming and doing shit. You know how that feeling when you're so uncomfortable, you can't stop moving, but you're just doing shit, but you're just uncomfortable because you don't know how to react? Josh Allen he's got his hands inside his pads as he's watching it. And he's stunned because he thinks they just won the game. And, you know, the range of emotions, that's the most intriguing part of all of this for me, most fascinating part. Because I've been there before, thinking that I've won to find out that you lose. And the range of emotions that you go through in that time period, it is unbelievable. When you think you've won, only to find out you've lost. And so Josh Allen, after being excited on the sideline, dapping up everybody, and thinking he's just going to watch the rest of this game, watch his defense hold on, he's got his hands in his pads, and he sees the touchdown. And, you know, you don't want to believe that this is real. So you look up at the Jumbotron, and you're looking to see if he really did catch the football. And he's realizing, oh, my God, he just caught the football. And so he keeps readjusting his shoulder pads. He keeps pulling them down like this. And he's looking around, and his eyes, you can see they're watering up like, this is some bullshit. And I'm like, how many times you gonna readjust the pads? Josh, you can't, they're not gonna fit any tighter. They're not gonna fit any better. It's over, bruh. Let the pads go. And he just keeps tugging on them. And like this, and he's looking up like, and they thought they were going into their bye week riding high. 8-2. One of the best teams in the AFC. And think about it. If they win this game, they're 8-2. The only two records better than them are the 8-1 Chiefs and the 9-0 Steelers. That's it. They still play those 9-0 Steelers down the road. So they look at it and they say, we got a chance. We got an outside shot at this first round bye. Why not us? And you go from that to now you're 7-3, and now you're just one half game in first place over the all of a sudden red hot 6-3 Miami Dolphins. Isn't that a bitch? You go from 2 games clear of those bastards and riding high into your bye week to now, damn, the Dolphins are right there nipping at our ass at 6-3. And now you're not even close to that 9-0 Steelers team. And now 8-1. Remember, the Chiefs already beat you this season. So now that 8-1 seems a little bit further out of reach, and they own the tiebreaker. Damn, boy, what a difference 29 seconds can make. That was a hell of a football game. The Hail Murray, as it's been dubbed. I feel really bad for Nuke because he should be somewhere in that title. Because, yeah, the throw by Murray was ridiculous. But the catch is really what makes the play, right? Like, this guy goes up in a sea of Bills' hands. And it was funny. I saw a great tweet. You know, there were all kinds of tweets and memes and shits like that going on yesterday. But the funniest one I saw was somebody said, at the end of the day, Jordan still proves he's better than everyone else. Because Nuke had on Jordan gloves. One Bills defender had on Nike. Another Bills defender had on Adidas. And his hand is above all the rest of them snatching the ball down. And it's a still shot of his hand, the Jordan glove above the Nike and Adidas glove. Can't get any better than that. If you're Jordan, that's a commercial. Anyway, I digress. Cardinals win the game 32-30. Big win for them. Now they're in first place. They're tied for first place, a 3-way tie. And technically speaking, they're in first place. They haven't played the Rams yet this season, but they've already beaten Seattle. So it's 7-3 Seattle, 6-3 Seattle, 6-3 Los Angeles Rams, 6-3 Arizona Cardinals. Unbelievable. 7-3, Buffalo Bills heading into their bye week with a nasty, I'm talking grape Dimetap medicine taste in your mouth. Ugh, yuck. Chargers at the Dolphins. 29-21 victory for the Dolphins in this game. It was one of my losses, along with the Giants beating the Eagles on Sunday. This was one of those games where the Chargers, much like all the other 2-win teams in the league, proved why they're not good, why they can't win ball games. They allowed the Dolphins to jump out to a 14-0 lead in this game. You get a punt block, you probably are going to lose the football game. You can't have special teams gaffes like the Chargers came out and they looked ill-prepared in this game. The Dolphins, you know what? I like Salvon Ahmed. I liked him better than the other Washington back that they had starting for them earlier this season. I was never a fan of his. I can't remember his name, the guy that was starting for the Dolphins, and I told you, he's not a real starting running back in this league. I'm sorry. Myles Gaskins. I was like, nah, can't do Myles Gaskins. You're going to have to do better than that. Now, Salvon Ahmed, even though he went undrafted out of UW, he can play some ball. He's got some elite game-changing speed. You can see that when he was in college. And he reminds me a lot of another 26 that played for the Dolphins that went to the Texans, in Lamar Miller. I think he's going to change their offense. If he can stay healthy, Salvon Ahmed, I think, is going to be a difference maker, because he's one of those guys that if you blink, you take a false step the wrong way, he's gone. He's got so much speed. He's going to change their offense. I really like him, and I think that's a great addition for them. But he was good in this game again. Tua's going to make some mistakes. So if you watch this game and you look at the box score, you say, oh, another 2 touchdowns, no interceptions for Tua. Look at this. Tua's out here balling. Yeah, but Tua should have been picked off 2 or 3 times in this game. I can think of 2 in particular by linebackers and this is why the Chargers are a 2-win team, because they don't know how to take advantage of opportunities like this. Early in the game, they're down 7-0. And I think it might have been nothing at that point, because I think the second touchdown came off of the block punt. So anyway, early in the ball game, and Tua tries to needle the football in to his tight end. And both of his interceptions, if he would have thrown them, would have been passes he was trying to fit into the tight end over the middle of the football field. And that's, I think, one of the biggest adjustments for young quarterbacks is over the middle of the field. In the NFL, it's different than over the middle of the field in college. Players are smarter, they're faster, they react better, and they read your eyes better. And so he's throwing the football to the tight end, and it's a great play by the safety or the corner. I think Davis is the one that crashes down on the play, and he bats the ball into the air. And Denzel Perriman, you can't get it any better. There's 3 Chargers around, and the other 2 kind of back up and like, hey, Denzel got this. No, the hell he don't. He dropped the shit. I mean, it's just a gift. Tip drill stuff. Just catch the goddamn ball. And he got stoned for hands. So then later in the game, Tua throws the football right through the hands of first-round pick linebacker Kenneth Murray. When I say right through his hand, I mean literally. He made his hands just like this, and the ball went right through his hands. Never seen anything like it before. Tua threw him the ball, and it got through in the line, and the tight end caught the ball. But like, they showed the replay, and I'm like, it literally went through his hands. Unbelievable. He's gonna throw some picks, is what I'm trying to tell you. But he was clean again in this game. They did what they needed to do. They kept the Chargers at bay. The Chargers made mistakes. They picked off Justin Herbert. And that was really one of the biggest plays in the game. That the Chargers had a little bit of momentum, and Herbert throws a pick. It was picked off by Xavier Howard, the X-Man, and that was pretty much all she wrote. I think they ended up taking 29-14 lead at that point of the game, and ultimately win this game 29-21. This Dolphins team, man, I tell you, they're just playing really good ball. Really good complementary football. You want to know what else, too? Now that Tua's in, Jakeem Grant is a bigger part of this football team now. He's catching touchdown passes, and he's a part of the offense. Before he was just like a special teams guy, gadget guy. We might throw him a double reverse or something, jet sweep every now and again. Now he's actually catching balls and third down passes. He's catching touchdowns in the end zone. Like, okay, Jakeem, I see you. It's just a different vibe in Miami right now with Tua at quarterback. And what is that? 4 or 5 straight for these guys? Whatever it is, they're playing ridiculous football, man. And now they're 6-3, and don't look now. 1 game out of first place in the win column are the Miami Dolphins at 6-3. So that is interesting stuff there. Chargers dropped to 2-7 on the season. They're not a good football team. Denver at the Las Vegas Raiders. This one got out of control as we got into the early stages of the fourth quarter. Raiders run away and hide with this one, 37-12. Broncos had every opportunity in the first half of this game. Drew Lock was not good in this game. He had a chance to be really good in this game early on. He just made too many mistakes. He threw 2 first half picks to Jeff Heath. The second one was the backbreaker. That was the one where you said, okay, this is not your day. They're down 10-6. Defense is holding up against a very potent Raiders offense, and they got a shot. Drew Lock takes him down the field. He's looking sharp on this drive right before the half, and he runs in a touchdown. He actually runs a touchdown in, and they call tight end Noah Fant for holding. I thought it was a little bit of a ticky-tack call, but I've seen that call called consistently this season, where the tight end's out there blocking on a read option play, and if you don't let the guy go, they're going to call you for holding. And so Drew Lock's touchdown is negated. They back him up 10 yards, and he tries to fit in a slant over the middle of the field, and Jeff Heath reads it the entire way, jumps in front of it, and picks it off. And from that point forward, the Denver Broncos were essentially dead in this game. They never really had a shot after that. Raiders jumped on them in the second half. The run game started to pick up. Derek Carr started to heat up, and the turnovers just kept coming. They didn't stop. I think Drew Lock ended up throwing 4 interceptions, if not 3 interceptions. They had turnovers galore, did the Broncos. They couldn't get out of their own way. And before you know it, a game that was relatively close, it was like 17-6, got out of control, and it was like 37-6 at one point. So, this one got ugly, and it got ugly quick. And the Raiders win this game comfortably, 37-12. They're now 6-3 on the season, and I told you the Raiders are a good football team, and they've gotten through the treacherous part of their schedule. Now they look up, and the first part of their schedule, like the first 8 games, like the 5th hardest schedule or the 3rd toughest schedule in the league, record-wise. And remember, we talked about that stretch after they beat New Orleans. I said, all right, this next stretch of football is going to determine whether you're going to be a good team or not. You got to go, 2-2, or I think it might have been 5 games. I might have said you need to find a way to go at least 2-3, because they started out the season 3-0, I think. And so I said you got to find a way, or it might have been 2-0. They started out the season, whatever it was, 2-1, 3-1, whatever it was. I said you got to find a way to go either 2-3 or 3-2 in this stretch. You can't go any worse than that. And they navigated their way through that stretch, and I think they ended up going like 3-2 in that stretch. And they're a good football team. They're going to be around. So, big win for them. They take care of business. Denver Broncos are now 3-6 on the season. Whatever hopes they had of trying to make a season of 2020, it's pretty much dashed the last 2 weeks. They needed to win one of the last 2 games, and they weren't able to get either one of them. Seattle Seahawks at the Los Angeles Rams. This game went exactly the way that I thought it was going to go. 23-16 victory for the Rams coming off of their bye week. Seattle has now lost 2 in a row after starting the season off 5-0. They've now lost 3 out of their last 4, and they're now 6-3. And I told you what was going to happen, and this is the beauty and the value in knowing other teams' family business and knowing the history of the family business. Again, this is not my family business, but when you've studied it enough and you know it, you're able to then make smart decisions when it comes to that family business. Here's the thing you have to know about Rams versus Seahawks. This goes back to the St. Louis days when the Rams were trash and the Seahawks were good, but it didn't matter. They always got after Russell Wilson. This goes back to his rookie season in 2012 when he was tearing shit up. They still tore his ass up in 2012 and 2013 and 2014 and 2015 and 2016 and 2017 and 2018 and 2019 and now 2020. They always get after Russell Wilson. Always, 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 always. If nobody else in that division can get after Russell Wilson, the Rams can. Now, the Cardinals were the one team that was capable of going to Seattle when Seattle was Seattle and winning, but the Rams were capable of busting Russ's ass at home. They were the team that Russ knew he was going to get sacked 5 or 6 times. He was going to fumble once or twice. He might throw a pick or two just because he's under duress trying to get rid of the ball. And they were going to torment his ass, and he was going to be sore the next morning. And they were going to lose the game. That's exactly what happened in this game. They harassed Russ's ass. They sacked him 6 times in this game. They picked him off twice. I think he fumbled once in this game. It was 4 total turnovers for the Seattle Seahawks offense. Jalen Ramsey shadowed DK Metcalf the entire day. I don't know if he even had a catch in this game. I know at one point it was 15 times they had been matched up and 0 catches. And I know at one point Russ finally did throw a deep ball to him, and he had a chance. He beat Jalen on the play, but he wasn't able to come down with it. But for the most part, Ramsey shadowed him, and I don't know if they just said, we're not even going to mess with it, or if Russ had to turn it down because it was such good coverage. But this is why you pay Jalen Ramsey the money you pay him. Totally took. This is the second time. So if you want DK Metcalf to take that next step, he's got to learn how to beat. And this is the thing that we thought coming out of Ole Miss that he was going to struggle with. Route running and beating elite man-to-man coverage. He's dusting all the boys that don't know how to cover, and he's eating up zone, and he's running right through your zone. But when elite guys are assigned the task of covering him, he struggled. You go to that Arizona game, Patrick Peterson put the shackles on his ass. What was it? 3 catches for 21 yards or something like that. And then in this game, I don't even know if he had a catch. I'm not sure if he did or not. But it was tough sledding for him. And so, but this was more about the Rams defense doing what they do best against Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson making mistakes. And what we've seen of late is Russell's pressing. He wasn't pressing earlier in the season because he didn't know how bad his defense was earlier in the season. Now Russ is out here trying to win the MVP in every single game because he realizes, oh yeah, my defense is super trash. I gotta score 30. Well, you didn't need 30 in this game. He didn't know that though. And maybe the Rams could have revved it up if they had to, but they knew all we gotta do is not make any mistakes. We'll win this game because our defense is dominating their offense. But I think Russ is pressing. I think he's out there every single time they had the football. He feels like I've got to make a play because if I don't, our defense is going to give up another touchdown and we're going to be in an even bigger hole. And he just has to go out and realize, hey, you can't win it by yourself, bro. Take what the defense is giving you. If you got to use your legs, like on that pick right before the half, I know what he was looking at. You got your tight end running down the sideline, free and open. He didn't see Darius Williams peeling off of one tight end and falling underneath the other. You had Greg Olsen, Grego, running the seam route, and Darius Williams collapsed on that. And now you got the wheel route up the sideline wide open, and he tries to fit it in there. And Darius Williams sees the ball, and he peels off and falls underneath that wheel route and picks it off. Russ never saw him. But he could have run for that. He could have run for the first down. It was first down. They had just gotten the ball. Plenty of time, plenty of opportunity. You didn't need to do that. But that's what Russ is doing right now. He's pressing. It's an unnecessary throw. How about Darius Williams too, man? I talked about this kid earlier this season. About Darius Williams. He had 3 picks in this game. One of them was called back. It was a pick 6. That pick that he had, the second one, where he dives in front of the receiver, that's a hell of a pick, man. Shit. There's got to be some receiver in that man's past, in his background somewhere. He's been one of the revelations of this 2020 season for the Rams and at the cornerback position. He's come out of nowhere. And I remember the first time I seen him make a play against the Eagles in week 2. So who the hell is this Darius Williams fella, man? He looks pretty damn good. And he's done nothing but gotten better and better as these weeks progress. They've got a guy opposite of Ramsey now that you have to be careful of because he's not afraid. He's fearless. He's the equivalent of Jackson in New England. All right, he's the equivalent of Jackson in New England, where you say, "Hey, watch yourself. You want to go away from Stephon Gilmore? Watch yourself with this Jackson kid. He'll pick your ass off. Don't get sloppy over there just because you're trying to go away from Stephon Gilmore. Be careful." Same thing with Darius Williams. Be careful. Watch yourself. Watch your step. Just because you're trying to go away from Ramsey, this ain't the dude you want to trifle with. Be careful. Watch yourself. He will pick your ass off. Darius Williams playing some football, and so is this Rams defense. As they get it done, 23-16 over the Rams. And again, as I mentioned earlier when we talked about the Arizona Cardinals win, 3-way tie for first place in the NFC West division. 6-3, 6-3, 6-3, as both teams leave this game at 6-3. And I told you, there's something about this Rams team. Can't quite put my finger on it. Something's not right. But they're good enough to make the postseason, and they will do it. And I told you that at the beginning of the season. Cincinnati at Pittsburgh, not a lot here. You know, the Steelers did what they were supposed to do to the Bengals. 36-10 is your final score here. Quickly, I'll just sum this up. If you're a Washington fan, I'm going to talk about this later on today. But Cincinnati has a big win going into their bye week. They beat the Tennessee Titans. Biggest upset of the season to this point of any team in the league. Biggest upset. They go into their bye week feeling good. They come out of the bye, young football team, and this is what we've seen this year from young teams coming out of the bye. They're not ready to play. They're not prepared. 2 turnovers in the first quarter, 4 penalties in the first quarter, and you put yourself behind the 8 ball. The Steelers had 6 offensive possessions. 6 in the first quarter. 6 offensive possessions in the first quarter. 6. I watched a game between the Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers where the Minnesota Vikings had 7 total possessions in the game. The Packers had 7 total possessions in the game. 7. The Steelers had 6 in the first quarter because the Bengals couldn't hold on to the football. And when they weren't, they were going 3 and out. Unbelievable. So I said all of that to say this. They were ill prepared. They made mistakes. They're not good enough to make mistakes and overcome them, not against an undefeated team that runs the division. And so all of that amounts to a 36-10 beating at the hands of the Steelers. I will say T. Higgins was outstanding again, but he was one of the culprits in this game with one of the turnovers. As he was stripped of the football. That's why I love the Steelers, because they're so ruthless. Those fumbles, those weren't gimme fumbles. They took the rock from these boys. Give me the ball. You don't know what to do with that. The fumble on T. Higgins, that was just assault. That was grand larceny. That was theft. That's what we call felonious burglary, okay? And what was it? It was Sutton, I believe it was, Cam Sutton. He should be arrested for that because he reached in the cookie jar. Give me that shit, man. Lawnmowered the hell out of that ball. Pulled that shit right on out of there. Give me that. Steelers were dominant in this game. Ben. Big game from Deontay Johnson. You're starting to see shades of life from Juju Smith-Schuster. It's been a down year for him. It really has. But if he can come back alive all of a sudden now with Chase Claypool, another 2 touchdowns for him in this game, they've got weapons all over the football field offensively. I don't like their run game though. I don't like their run game. Boy, James Conner is slow. Whoo-wee, he is slow motion, boy. Slow motion for me. Slow motion for me. Boy, it seems like he's running with a fridge on his back. I will tell you this though. Ray McLeod is a difference maker in the punt game. He had a return in this game that was stupid. He ran to the sideline and he just stopped. And then the hole opened up and then he just accelerated. And I'm like, well, god damn. Ray? It was nasty. Anyway, I digress. Steelers win 36-10, remain the league's only unbeaten team at 9-0. San Francisco at New Orleans. That was my survivor pick of the week. It didn't start off well. Saints were down 10-0 early in the game due to mistakes. They muffed a punt in the game, and the 49ers, their opening possession of the game was beautiful. They moved it right down the field. Got some assistance from the Saints with some mistakes and some penalties, but they were dominant on that first possession. Brandon Ayuk was spectacular. Got a little bit of help from Richie James, and 7-0. Then you muff the punt, and then it's 10-0. And I'm thinking, oh, shit, here we go. Here go the Saints effing around in a game that they're supposed to win. And then the 49ers said, nah, we good. We're not going to win this game. We just wanted to scare them a little bit. Then they started turning the ball over. And then they had a punt bounce off of a member of their team that the Saints recovered. They muffed a punt later on in the game, Richie James did. And they hurt Drew Brees in the first half, but not before he was able to hand off the football to Alvin Kamara for a touchdown. You could tell Drew wasn't right after that hit. He wanted to come out. Peyton told him to stay in. The next two plays, they made it so that Taysom Hill was at quarterback so that Drew wouldn't have to be. And then on the last play, he hands it off to Kamara, who runs it in for the touchdown. And after that, we didn't see him again. He didn't come out for the second half. He told Sean Payton, I can't go, man. Something's not right. We later found out he's got some fractured ribs. We'll see what's going on with him and how long he's going to be out. But Jameis Winston, they just told Jameis, hey, bro, you just hand it off. We're not going to let you do anything stupid here because we already were tripping in this game. You just hand it off. You check it down to the backs. Hit the tight end every now and again. We're going to go with the Teddy Bridgewater method of winning games like we did last year when Drew was out. Hit the backs. Let Kamara do what he does. Hit Michael Thomas underneath. Let him do what he does. Hit Jared Cook. Let him do what he does. And we'll be fine. Don't try to get cute. Don't try to be, Jameis Winston of old where you try to strap the team to your back. We don't need you to do that here. We don't need the turnovers. Manage the game. The defense will take care of their business. We'll take care of ours, and we'll win. So we'll see how long Jameis Winston will be under center for this Saints team moving forward. But they get it done 27-13 over the 49ers. Again, the competitive portion of the 49ers season is done. The injuries have been too much to overcome, and they now drop to 4-6 on the season due to the 49ers. The bye week can't come fast enough for the San Francisco 49ers. Baltimore at New England. We talked about that already. Saints, just in case you needed to know, they are atop the NFC South at 7-2. Baltimore and New England, the biggest surprise of the weekend for me was this game. I didn't see this coming. Even though the weather had a huge hand in the outcome, I believe, doesn't matter. Both teams had to deal with the inclement weather, and I just thought the Patriots handled it better than the Ravens did. And they win the game 23-17. I've already talked about that game on the overtime program last night, so I don't need to go into great details on that game. But I will say that's a devastating loss for Baltimore. It pretty much makes the division crown unattainable almost. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but they're going to need a lot of help from the Steelers in terms of the Steelers losing some games they have no business losing. I just don't see the Steelers, with the way they're playing ball, losing games to the likes of Jacksonville and teams like that. I don't see it. Washington and some of the teams that they have remaining on the schedule. I just don't see the Steelers losing those games. And so I think the Ravens have sealed their fate in terms of winning the division. Now the question is, can they make the postseason? I looked at the schedule last night. We talked about it. Their schedule is easy enough. It's doable enough that they'll find a way to navigate it. And more likely than not, go 12-4, 11-5. Worst case scenario, they're 11-5 and they'll make the playoffs. But we thought this was one of the best teams in the AFC, and what we found out is they're not. And last night was another instance of us realizing what you thought about Baltimore coming into the season. Wipe that from the memory bank. They're not that team anymore. They're a good team, but they're not in the conversation with the Chiefs and now the Steelers and the upper echelon of the AFC, the Bills. We got to stop leaving the Bills out of that conversation. They're not in that conversation. I think that if they played the Bills at a neutral site or in Buffalo, maybe even in Baltimore, I think the Bills could beat them. Just saying. I'm not saying I'm saying. Anyway, that'll do it for Slate Skatin. Let's wrap this thing up with garbage time. And you know how I do this. Monday Night Football on the horizon tonight. A NFC North family business. You know how the family do it. Vikings at Bears. The Bears. This should be a good one. I'm looking forward to this football game. I tell you what. Dalvin Cook has been out of his mind the last few weeks, leading the Packers to some the Vikings to some improbable wins. Much like the Patriots, I left this Vikings team for dead at like 1-5. I left them for dead. And I think they thought they were dead after the bye week. They told Daniil Hunter, hey, go ahead, have your surgery, man. You good. We done. Don't worry about it. They traded away Yannick Ngakoue. They were punting on the season, essentially. But they didn't make any real moves at the trade deadline outside of trading away Yannick Ngakoue. We thought that they were going to have a fire sale and that we were going to see a lot more guys go, but they didn't really do much. They stood pat. Dalvin Cook comes back off of a little bit of an injury, and he just starts tearing some shit up. And he goes for 4 touchdowns and damn near 200 yards rushing against the Packers in a 28-22 win. The following week, he follows that up with over 200 yards rushing versus the Detroit Lions in a 34-20 win. And next thing you know, they've won 2 in a row. They're 3-5, and they're right back in the mix in the NFC playoff race. Now, they got a lot more work to do. And I told you can't start using the P word until you get back to 500. But the Bears are struggling. And when you flip to the other side of the coin, the Bears are struggling. Remember, this was a team that started out this season 5-0. You know, they were either 4-0 or 5-0. I feel like they got to 4-0. I think the Colts beat them and knocked them from the ranks of the unbeaten. And so I think they started off the season 5-1. And they've lost 3 out of their last 4. Or actually, I think they've lost 3 straight after beating the who was their last win against? I don't know, but their schedule got really tough too. You know, they lost to the Titans. They lost to the Rams on a Monday night. They lost to the Titans. And then that was last week. So I think they've lost. And they lost to somebody, I think, before that Rams game too. But they've been struggling. After beating Tampa Bay, I think Tampa Bay was their last win. They haven't won since that Thursday night in which they stifled the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Seems like an eternity ago. But here they are. I think they beat Carolina too, if I'm not mistaken. But here they are with an opportunity to get off the schneid against a team that's a family member that they've owned. Kirk Cousins is 0-4 versus the Chicago Bears since joining the Minnesota Vikings. Has had no success against this team. I think he might be. Is it 0-4 or is it 0-6? How long has Kirk been in Minnesota anyway? Is it 2 years? This is his 3rd year, right? I'm not tripping, am I? I feel like I'm tripping. I think this is his 3rd year. I think he's 0-4 against the Vikings. He struggled with them. Just know that. And I'm banking on that. I'm banking on the fact that here's my thought process. So I picked the Bears to win this game. And I feel confident that they're going to get it done. Here's why. I watched them against Tennessee last week. They stopped the run. All right. They stopped Derrick Henry. They slowed him down. The only team that I've really watched stop Derrick Henry and slow him down at all this year. Everybody's getting 100 put on their head for the most part. And the Bears really shut him down. And if the Vikings can't run the football, they can't win. It's impossible for them to win when they can't run it. They've essentially tried to take Kirk Cousins out of the offense. Limit his attempts and his exposure to mistakes and interceptions. Run the football with Dalvin Cook. Win the game that way. If Dalvin Cook runs the football and is effective tonight, if he rushes for $150, they're going to win this game. Hands down. If they slow Dalvin Cook down, and I'm pretty sure they're going to load the box up and they're going to dare Kirk Cousins to beat them. And he can. He's capable. They got receivers. I told you Justin Jefferson before the season was going to be a beast, and he has been. And they still got Adam Thielen. They're still capable offensively. However, Kirk has been making some mistakes this year, and they're going to bank on Kirk making a mistake. And they've gotten to Kirk Cousins, and this defense is capable of getting to Kirk Cousins. And this offensive line is still not very good at protecting the quarterback, but exceptional at running the football. If they can stop the run and force Kirk Cousins to beat them, the Bears are going to win this game. The Bears are going to win this game. I think they're going to score enough tonight. I think you're going to see the Bears do enough tonight offensively. They're going to be without their best running back in Montgomery, who's out with a concussion. But I think they're going to do enough tonight to win this football game. I'll take the Bears in a good one, 23-17 over the Minnesota Vikings. And they're going to hold Dalvin Cook to 89 yards rushing on 22 attempts. And that's what's going to win them the football game. Barely under 4 yards an attempt. But with the way he's been running, he has to rush for 130, 40, 50, or if you look at the last couple of games, damn near 200 for them to win. And it's not happening tonight. If it does, they'll win the game. But I'll take the Bears to snap this losing streak, get back to their winning ways as they head into their bye week. They need this one, and they need it bad, and I think they're going to get it. So that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T here on the Louie Tee Network Podcast. This one ran a little bit long, but I had some games I really had to get into because it was a good week of football, and I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I'm going to enjoy tonight's game. I really am. I'm looking forward to it, and so I thank you guys for joining me on the pod. If you haven't already done so, what are you waiting on? Go ahead and subscribe to the Louie Tee Network. Go ahead and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And hit that thumbs up on the way out. Show your man some love. Speaking of showing me some love, if you haven't already done so, go ahead, take a trip to theprintchamps.com/Louie T down in the description. You will find a Louie Tee Network merch. Get you some, man. What y'all waiting on? Got hats. You see the beanie I got on? Comes in black as well. You've seen the dad hats that I wear, black and in camo. Also, we got hoodies, shirts, masks, you name it, we got it. Check out the Louie Tee Network merch on theprintchamps.com and get you some, man. And I really appreciate y'all. And I'm going to thank you in advance for your generosity. Thank you so much for chopping it up with me, your man Louie T here on the Louie Tee Network Podcast. Let me, I got one more super chat. Let me knock this out before I get out of here. This one is from my man, Vincent Cole. Thank you for the super chat, Vincent Cole. Greatly appreciate you. Vincent Cole says, Jalen Ramsey shuts down DK. Gilmore didn't. I can tell you this much. Jalen Ramsey does really well against big receivers. That's right in his wheelhouse. When you get the small, shifty guys, I think he struggles a little bit with those guys. It's the bigger receivers that he's able to run with, put his hands on, and stay in phase with, and DK is right up his alley. So he did a hell of a job yesterday, and that was a huge part of why they were able to be successful versus the Seattle Seahawks in week number 10. So that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Until next time, you guys stay safe, have a good one, take care, and I'll see you next time on the Louie Tee Network Podcast. Y'all take care.
Louie Tee Network.